How can divorce be a good thing? Divorce is painful, right? Not for Christiana. See how she used her divorce to get closer to Allah and to Islam. Use this example to get over your own personal problems so you can accept Islam and start a new life. Learn about the problems you may face after converting to Islam and getting married to a Muslim. Christiana provides some tips on how to do this without the problems. The benefit of this story is that you can learn from the problems faced by others and how they became stronger after the afflictions. So you can do that too and move forward after your afflictions. Christiana converted to Islam on April the 6th, 2018. That's about 2 years ago now. She lives in Ohio and is from Manhattan. Christiana is 27 years old and is a pharmacy technician. Hi, Christiana. Welcome to the show.
Jazakallah here for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for coming on. So tell us a bit about your life now that you've been a Muslim for 2 years. What's it been like?
Alhamdulillah, it's been great. I just feel so free and true to myself now that I converted. I really didn't expect to have this much peace, but alhamdulillah, it's been such a blessing.
Okay, and so you mentioned that you feel true to yourself. What does that mean?
Before Islam, I felt that there was always something missing, that I was lying to myself about my desires. I had wanted to convert to Islam for quite some time, but I delayed converting because of fear. The news in the media had really bothered me, and it was just so close to home. I really didn't know how to deal with it. But once I took the leap of faith and decided to be who I am and not wait for the perfect moment, I felt freer, and so many doors started to open for me.
Okay, and can you share some of those that you mentioned the doors are opening for you? Can you share a few of them with us?
Like, for many years, I struggled with depression. Every single day, I truly didn't want to leave my bed. But when I converted to Islam, I felt I had a purpose in life. I really felt that there was a necessity for my existence. Something deep down inside me had changed. Something I didn't think was possible. I was happy, and I wasn't saying I'm happy to satisfy everyone around me, but I was genuinely happy. There was peace in my heart, peace in my mind, and peace in my soul. And I never thought I would ever come to a point in life where I felt that way. I'm just so grateful for my auntie as well as the Muslims I met along the way, because my first true exposure to Islam was when I was 17 at college, and I became friends with a young Muslim, and some random person had attacked her for being Muslim, and I didn't know how to deal with that, and that was because of terrorism. But I was very impressed with how she defended herself against him. He was upset about his son dying in 9/11, and she had to explain to him that that's completely different from what she is. He didn't have anything to say after she broke it down to him. And at the moment, I really felt that I could have defended her, but I never was put in that situation. I didn't know what to say. I was just frozen in the moment. To a certain extent, I felt really bad about that, but I had no awareness of how to deal with those type of situations. I've always taken the discrimination instead of defending myself for the discrimination that was thrown at me. As you can see, even now, 10 years later, I'm still thinking about that. After that situation, about 2 years later, when I'm 19 years old, my auntie takes me to my first Juma. And mashallah, when I entered the masjid, I felt peace. It was a deep, profound sense of peace. Just hearing the recitation of Al-Fatiha amazed me. At that time, I didn't know what I was listening to, but I just felt so good. I began to cry, tears of joy and peace. Now, I've always loved music, so it resonated with me so deeply. Because for me in life, I've always followed the music. For some reason, I really believe that music was key in my life, that it was the love of my life. And if music was involved, something good was bound to happen. In this case, it really proved to be true. So after that day, I kept thinking about it, wanting to become Muslim, just to keep that peace constantly in my life, because I didn't have peace. I didn't feel happy. I didn't like what I saw. I was very unhappy with my current situation when it came to my family. There was so much I didn't agree with their teachings, because this is so common everywhere in the world, no matter what religion. The teachings are different based on who the leader is. I believe it took me about 3 years before I brought my first Quran, and I hid the Quran like it was gold. It would take me another 2 years after buying the Quran, 24 years old, to finally open it and take a serious initiative to read it. Because I told myself, if I'm going to convert to Islam, I need to know what is in the book. I need to understand this book. So I slowly read it. And I remember month before my conversion to Islam in 2017, I'm slowly reading the Quran. I already made up my mind that I'm going to convert after I finish reading the Quran. I'm in Target, and my mom is talking about forcing me to go to church because I live in her household. And I told her, I'm not going. And she says, why not? And I said, I don't want to go. And it's because the church is run by my uncle, and he insulted my cousin for being a Muslim. And it really broke my heart to hear someone call Islam a fake religion. I felt so hurt, because we all believe in the same God. We just worship him in a different way. And nobody has a right to disrespect someone else's religion to that extent, even if they don't agree with the teaching. I always felt that you respect people for their differences. And I never wanted to step foot back in that church after that day, because I couldn't stand the idea of being insulted every week for my personal beliefs. After telling my mom in that Target that I was going to become Muslim, she became very upset with me, and she ran and told my dad as if I was doing something illegal in this day and age in America, as if we were back in the time where a woman had no rights or anything. And that really hurt me. It made me feel so bad to see nothing had changed between my family. But eventually, during the end of that year, the last couple of months, they had to accept it. And I know that they don't accept Islam, that they accept me, and they had no choice but to accept me because they still wanted to be a part of my life. And in order to be a part of my life, they had to respect, even if they didn't want to, the fact that I was going to become a Muslim and I was going to be proud to be a Muslim. I took my Shahada on April 6th of 2018, and I felt free. Many good things started to happen in my life because I was now Muslim. I remember right after the Shahada walking around with a hijab on and people just staring at me, children, teenagers, adults, old people, everyone was just staring in amazement. I laughed so hard to myself as if they never seen a Muslim before. And since then, I've done so many things I never thought I would do. I've made real friends, real sisters, real brothers who accept me as I am. They don't judge me. They don't want to change me. They just want to see me grow and be happy. And whenever I need help, the help is there. No matter what time, the weather, or anything, they are there for me and I am there for them. It took me a while before I still feel I'm still learning, still getting into a routine when it comes to being Muslim. I'm still working on learning more Arabic, more Hadith, more Sunnah, just becoming more involved in the community. Islam has truly made me a better person. I still deal with my depression, but it's not as bad as it used to be. I'm calmer. I feel different. I still have the pain, but it's not like before. Before, I was suicidal every day, but now it's just once in a while because things are just extremely overwhelming. But when I ask Allah for help, when I ask Him for healing, after I say Ameen, I feel better. All the craziness goes away, and I can continue striving to be the best Muslim I can be.
Okay, thanks, Christiana. You really went through a lot of episodes there in your life with us. You shared a lot there.
No problem. I'm happy to share.
So, it seems like a long time since you were 17. So that first incident when you were with your Muslim friend, that was 10 years before you converted to Islam. Would you say that that was the first turning point in you accepting Islam?
Yes, because I've always been curious, but I never knew how to get involved into it. I was
Okay.
always just looking for something that was going to work for me, but I didn't know what would work for me.
Okay. So that was, a long journey of 10 years before you actually officially converted. Did you, along that time, along that 10 years time, did you feel like you were actually a Muslim before you converted? Did you feel like you were a part of the religion and you believed in Islam and you believed in Allah and you believed in the Prophet of Allah?
To a certain extent, yes, I did, and at the same time, no, I didn't, because I felt there was stuff I didn't know. And I know they always just say, become a Muslim now. It's better to be Muslim and die with knowing little instead of to not be Muslim, know a lot, then die. But for me, reading the whole Quran before converting was very important. That was a personal goal for myself.
Okay, so tell us about that reading of the Quran. So you mentioned that it took you 2 years to actually read it after you bought it.
Yeah, it did. Because what happened, I would read a couple of ayah and then I would put it back down and I'd pick it up for a month. It wasn't until that point, a month before the incident with my mother, that I was wholeheartedly dedicated to reading the Quran. I was reading the Quran every single day. And that had started in fall of 2017. You could literally just see my head down reading it on my phone. Every single ayah and surah. When I woke up, I was reading. When I was eating, I was reading. When I was walking, I was reading. And when I was going to sleep, I was reading. It was just very important to me.
And were you reading other material at the same time, or was it just the Quran?
Just the Quran. I didn't know about other material until I became Muslim. What about you? Did you read the Quran before converting or after?
No. Before I converted, I read a lot of those little booklets that you can get from the mosque, like on different topics of Islam. These really simple things to read. I might have read maybe a few verses from the Quran, but I didn't sit down and read it.
I didn't step foot in the Quran, in the masjids here until it was the day of my Shahada. But funny thing is, we have so many masjids here, but I was only aware of about 5 of them when I was looking for a place to take my Shahada. When it was March 2018, I was looking for a location, and I narrowed it down to 3, and I went with the masjid that responded to me first.
Okay, so let's talk about that Shahada. So for anyone listening, Shahada means that it means that you say the testimony of faith, which is that there is only one God and that Prophet Muhammad is the messenger of God. So this is the day of conversion for Christiana. Can you tell us about this day, and also tell us about the days leading up to it? Did you plan it, or was it a sudden decision?
I planned because I wanted to do it on a certain day for me. I didn't exactly get the number I wanted because I wanted to be a odd number, but instead it was more like my birthday. Since my birthday is November 6th, I end up going on April 6th. But before then, I was trying to actually do it sooner than that on an odd day. But alhamdulillah, it was on the day it was meant to be on. I know I planned my outfit. I didn't really know what I was looking for. I ended up getting a dress. I brought a random hijab, which was kind of like a mosaic pattern that you would find in North Africa. But I also made sure that it was an off day for me too. So it was Juma, and mine was scheduled. At first, I thought I was going to do it before the service, the khutbah, but it ended up being after because they also had a guest speaker that day. It was for me awkward because I didn't know what to do, but I came dressed up in the dress and in my hijab, and we sat there listening to the speaker. It was a brother from Michigan University. MashaAllah, his khutbah was really good. I wish I could remember all of what he said. He had a lot of good information to share. After that, they escorted me to another room where a doctor from the local University of Toledo asked me if I had any questions, and then we repeated the Shahada in English and then in Arabic. Before that, I was studying to say the Shahada only in Arabic. I did not expect to say it in English too. So I stumbled over the words in English because I didn't study them. And after it was over, I asked more questions. He quizzed me to see if I was paying attention. And he asked me the meaning of Inshallah, Alhamdulillah, Allah Akbar, simple things like that. Then it was just a long discussion on a couple of tips before getting married and what I should do. And the recommendation was to go home and take a shower. This way, the Shahada will be in full effect. I thought that was funny, but I can understand it because I know in the churches, when a child is accepting Christianity, or just someone in general, they'll do the baptism, and it's always involved water. So it would be a spiritual cleansing to be reborn and renewed. I had my mother there, my father, my sister, and my best friend. My best friend is Christian, but she was very supportive. She gave me a little stuffed lamb with bulging eyes, a card that said, "Congratulations on your Shahada," and cute little chocolates to go along with it. It was one of the best days of my life.
Okay, you said your parents were there?
Yes.
Are they Muslim or Christian?
No, still Christian. My mom is Southern Baptist and my father is Roman Catholic.
Okay, is anyone in your family Muslim yet?
In my household, no, but my outer family, which is my auntie, she's Muslim as well as her husband.
This is the auntie that you mentioned when you were 19?
Yes, and we come from a big family. My mother has 4 siblings. My father has 9 siblings. And then there's various grandchildren, nieces and nephews.
Okay, so how are your parents now about it all after you've been a Muslim for 2 years?
They still struggle with it, but they're not as bad as they were. Majority of the issue was coming from my mother, but my father just wants me to be happy.
Are they happy to see the change in you now?
My mother claims to be happy for me, and my father is genuinely happy for me.
Okay, so let's talk about the depression that you talked about earlier. So you mentioned that before Islam you were feeling suicidal, and then now after Islam you feel a lot better, and your depression has come down a lot. Can you tell us, why do you think Islam has helped in this situation for you?
It's helped me because it has provided a way to redirect my thoughts, to take away the pain that I feel by putting that energy in a different location. I don't necessarily understand why I couldn't do it being Roman Catholic, but for some reason it wasn't meant for me to be Roman Catholic and to feel content and happy. But there's something about Islam, there's something about the recitation of the Quran that has helped me to heal. I literally put the Quran on, and the moment the reciter starts to recite the Quran, I start to feel better. There's something in the tonation of how the Quran is recited. It's just this deep sense of peace. it just really does something to me that I don't understand. I would love to understand it, but it does really bring peace to me.
Okay, and you mentioned that Islam helped you to redirect your thoughts. So now, where are you redirecting your thoughts to?
I'm redirecting my thoughts to something positive, to being better for the world, making the world a better place, to being good for humanity. Before Islam, I never thought about doing anything. I didn't think I could amount to anything in the world. I honestly thought that I was worthless. But after Islam, I found a purpose. I started to see that I am capable of helping others and doing good things, that people do appreciate my value, that I am worthy of something.
Okay, and earlier you mentioned that you found real friends and real sisters through Islam. Can you explain that more?
Before Islam, people were only around me to get things out of me because I'm a very resourceful person. But after Islam, people are not around me for the benefits I bring to their life. They are around me just to be around me, just because they actually want to know who I am, and they see me as a person and not as a bank or a library of resources. And for me, that was very unusual in the beginning because I grew so accustomed to people just wanting to use me instead of being around me just to be around me. Honestly, I'm still learning to become comfortable with the idea of having real friends. Alhamdulillah, it's really amazing to know that there are people who value me and I can be around and I can be myself.
Okay, and so in the last 2 years you've been practicing Islam. What are some of the hardest parts of Islam for you?
For me, I feel where I struggle most is just praying on time, being more active in the community, and at times dealing with the segregation between men and women.
Okay, Christiana, thanks for that. So you talked to us about the hardest part of Islam. Now, can you tell us about the easiest parts of Islam for you in the last 2 years?
For me, the easiest part has been listening to the Quran, meeting new people, learning more about Islam, learning about the importance of the five pillars, receiving help from other Muslims, and learning to become a happily Muslim. I thought it was going to be so hard to be a Muslim, but it's actually very easy to be a Muslim because there's just so much support in the area and online too that I didn't expect to find. I honestly thought it would be a struggle, but whenever there's something you need or something you don't understand, there's about 3 to 5 people who say, "Oh, I can help you. Oh, I know about that," which is great, alhamdulillah. I just want to also become that type of Muslim that I'm able to help them whenever I can. Inshallah, I would become a more knowledgeable Muslim, a more resourceful Muslim, so I can give back as much as possible. And I love that in the Muslim community, for a good portion of them, they are not discriminatory. They see everyone as Muslim, everyone as a human being, and they don't make division. They just want to do what's best for the greater good.
Okay, thanks for sharing that, Christiana. And so, along your path of being a Muslim, a lot of people have probably given you advice. Can you think of the best advice that someone has given you?
I believe the best advice I have received is to take one day at a time. And if I ever feel that I'm struggling, to reach out, because there will always be someone there willing to help me. When in doubt about a situation, make istihara, and Allah will guide you to the best decision. That for me has really helped a lot, because sometimes there are so many decisions you just don't know the best answer for. You need that additional help to make a decision when you become indecisive about a situation. For instance, like marriage, that's when it is really important to do it. Even before marriage, you should, to receive the best help when it comes for your search of seeking a spouse, and making sure the person you're currently talking to is the best spouse for you.
So you're talking about a special type of prayer. You mentioned it was the
Yes.
istikhara. Can you, some of our listeners probably don't know what it is, so can you explain the process of this?
I have it written down. If you don't mind, I'll go grab it
Yeah, sure, that's good.
and I can share it with you where I printed this out from. So the printout I made is from seekersguidance.org, and it's titled Istihara, the Prayer of Seeking Guidance. And it just really makes it look so simple and easy. Because I know whenever I have an issue, I always go back to this and reference it. But it shows it's like a dua, or like any dua, 2 rakat, and then a recitation of the supplication for istihara. And it shows it in Arabic as well as the English translation. Do you mind if I read the English translation?
Please, yeah, go ahead, read that.
Okay. It says, O Allah, verily I seek the better of either choice from you by your knowledge, and I seek ability from you by your power, and I ask you from your immense bounty, for indeed you have power, and I am powerless. You have knowledge, and I know not. You are the knower of the unseen realms, O Allah. If you know that this matter is good for me with regard to my religion, my livelihood, and the end of my affair, then decree it for me, facilitate it for me, and grant me blessings in it. And if you know that this matter is not good for me with regard to my religion, my livelihood, and the end of my affair, then return it away from me, and me from it, and decree from me better than it, whatever it may be, and make me content with it. And after istihara, you're supposed to look for signs from Allah. I always ask Allah for a sign that I will understand and not confuse with something else. Like after recitating the Sahara, I'll ask, Ya Allah, please show me, for instance, a monarch butterfly within the next 3 days, so I know that this is the best decision for me. Alhamdulillah. when I ask for specific signs like that, I never confuse the decision. And when Allah shows what I ask for, no matter what season it is, believe it or not, one time I did Isahara during wintertime, and I asked for a monarch butterfly to be shown to me, and he showed me a monarch butterfly. I was truly amazed because it's not something you expect to see because it's so cold during the winter months. But Istihara can be used for anything, and mashallah, it's a great tool. It's a tool I use every day when I can. I do recommend a book. I'm going to pull the book up so I can tell you the title of the book.
Okay, great.
This book was written by the person I received counseling from, because after I became Muslim, I've married, and then I was divorced, and I just really needed someone to talk to. Because I didn't know how to deal with the feeling of being divorced. But alhamdulillah, she helped me work through it. But the title of the book is How to Be a Happy Muslim, Inshallah, by Shamia Sumer. The book is amazing, mashallah. And I have another title for...
Actually, before we go on to that second title, I just want to talk about Shema. So Shema has been a guest on our show, and we talked about her book, and we talked about how she's giving advice to Muslims and also to people thinking about becoming Muslim. So I have to give a shout out to Shema as well. She's a great lady, and actually she was the one who introduced you to me as well.
Yeah. She asked me, and I said, "Oh, why not? Sure." I believe in doing something outside my comfort zone at least once a day. It just feels good for growth.
That's great. That's great. So how did her service actually help you? Did you do the email correspondence, or did you actually do like some sessions where you were talking with her over the internet, or was it face to face?
Email correspondence. Because I was just so stressed out after the divorce happened. I had no one to talk to, no one to listen to, or help me get through those emotions. But with Shema, she helped me so much, more than she ever realizes how much she helped me. I was really going to a dark place because I was dealing with my ex-husband constantly harassing me because he wanted things to be his way. He didn't want to accept the divorce, yet he was the one who wanted the divorce, and I finally agreed to it. And then it was harassment on trying to make me come back to his country, and I just felt very uncomfortable. He was harassing me and harassing my friend just to have his way. Once I started talking to Shema, I started to feel at peace because there was someone to finally listen to the issues I was dealing with and to help me get through it.
How many years was this after you converted?
It was literally the same year. I converted in April, then got married in October. Then the divorce happened in July of 2019. I still, to a certain extent, had to deal with my ex-husband harassing me. And I don't understand why he can't just go away. I block him, they block him, and then he finds another way. But that was a valuable lesson. As I approached the marriage with an open heart, an understanding. Even when I found out he was lying about certain things, I stayed, but I just couldn't deal with the abuse anymore. Part of the reason why I didn't want to get a divorce because I never wanted to get married again. I always dreamt of getting married once and staying married to that person for the rest of my life. And it was just crushing me to know that I would have to search again. I really didn't want to search again. I felt hopeless when it came to that. I had lost a part of myself as well as my confidence because of that. It was just the typical self doubt and pity. Oh, who's going to want me now? I'm divorced. I'm no good, and all that nonsense. Alhamdulillah, I'm now in a better place where I can actually see myself getting married again. By divorcing him, more doors open for me. I couldn't get a good job being married to him, and I couldn't understand why. And ironically, the job I have now is a job I applied for while being married to him. And I always find it amazing how life works. It takes to remove certain people or elements from your life in order for blessings to come in. We always have to let go of certain negative elements, such as people, jobs, habit, in order for us to receive what we truly deserve, to receive something that's good for us. It's like someone trying to lose weight. You have to stop eating the bad food from McDonald's and everywhere else and start replacing that food with real vegetables, real fruit, food that's being cooked by yourself that doesn't have the extra ingredients in it and the additional chemicals in order for you to start seeing small progress in your weight goals. And then you had to decide to stop sitting on the couch and to go walking instead for an hour, instead of watching TV for an hour. And that helps you progress even more with your weight loss goals. And then you keep adding and adding on top of that to get a beneficial result.
So that must have been a real blessing to find Shema and to find this book that you mentioned, How to Be a Happy Muslim. How did you actually find Shema?
I was doing a Google search looking for counseling because it came to a point where I felt that I needed help and I didn't know where to find it. So she was actually one of the few people I emailed. I didn't know if it would work. Alhamdulillah, it did. And once we began communicating through email, I started to feel better because there was just a lot going on at the same time that I couldn't deal with. It was just too much.
Did you feel
I
like you were
had,
going back to your old self?
yeah,
Back to your depression and that sort of thing?
and much worse than I was before. I just to the point where in my marriage where I was praying to Allah to fix it. It would be good for a second, but the moment I stopped praying, because we have the five obligated prayers per day. As soon as I finished the obligated prayer, the dua, he would good for 5 seconds, and then he would go right back into being abusive. And I'm just like, I didn't understand. It didn't matter how much I prayed. He was just a horrible person. And there was just nothing I could do to save the marriage. I couldn't live my life that way, where nothing I did was good enough for anyone. I knew I deserved better, that I couldn't live the rest of my life trying to satisfy a miserable person. Because there's so many people in the world who are unhappy because of something they can't do themselves. And everyone is responsible for their own happiness.
Yeah, it seems like you were really, really being tested there by God. But now I can feel that you are very positive and you've pulled yourself out of it, So can you share more about how you did this?
I just had to redirect. Once I stopped allowing him to have his way, closing the doors to communication as much as I possibly could. Because I blocked every time he came back, I blocked him. I had the people around me to block him too. And once we knew every single account that he had that he was trying to use to communicate just to get to me, it started to add some peace of mind, because he's like a trap. You think everything's okay, and then an overwhelming mountain of negativity you're hit with. And then once that was done, I was talking to Shema. She was giving me tips on what to do, make more dua, and she was making dua for me. Then I was focusing on Allah, my peace. Allah gives me peace. So it was Quran, Salah, dua, exercise, and of course I had extra. I watched feel-good movies. I watched things that made me happy. I talked to my friends. I went out with my friends. I just kept doing the positive things. I spent more time in the sunlight. I was making sure I got the proper nutrition just to feel okay again. And I honestly did not expect to be okay as soon as I did. But because I spent most of the marriage crying anyway, there was nothing left to be sad about because it was over. And I know deep down inside, I still have emotions for him that are conflicting. It doesn't make any sense. I know I still love my ex-husband, but I also know he's not healthy for me. And I have to be healthy for me. I cannot sacrifice my peace of mind for anyone. I need my future husband to add on to it, just as I am responsible for adding on to his peace of mind.
Yeah, I think you're a very positive person, and if you keep praying to God, I'm sure that God will show you and give you a husband that you described there. And I really pray that you get that. One thing I want to mention is that, you know, someone listening to this episode, someone who's thinking about becoming Muslim, but they're still very doubtful. You know, this person will probably think, "See, I told you. You know, all Muslim men are oppressive and they beat their wives and they're mean to their wives."
No, that's just people in general. Because honestly, I thought that when I became Muslim that the men were better. Well, it's just like any other man. Men are men, women are men, women, people are people. If people are brought up incorrectly, no matter what religion, race, and all, they're going to be a bad person. My friends who came from the same country as him felt so bad for me and so embarrassed by his behavior. Because I have many Moroccan friends. They felt hurt for me and they apologized for his actions as if they were the ones who committed the wrong against me. They cried with me because they wanted my happiness so bad for me. And to see me have to go through the pain that I went through, they were hurt. But they know that there is better out there for me. And they're so happy that I am away from that person because they know what type of person that I am. But no matter what, people will be people. It doesn't matter what religion you are, doesn't matter what you believe in, doesn't matter your sexuality, what color you are, how big or how skinny you are, how long or how short your hair is, how educated you are. Horrible people exist.
Yeah. So this shows how strong your faith in the religion is, because you've gone through this amazing, like this terrible, terrible situation, and now, but you're still positive about Islam.
Because I know that he wasn't Islam. He was just a person. He does not represent Islam. And
Yeah, yeah.
the
And I
biggest
mean, there's
mistake,
probably been a lot of cases where people convert to Islam and then they get married and then they go through this situation, through this divorce situation, and then they actually leave Islam. I'm sure it's happened a lot.
what I've read in those cases too, they converted for the man. You're never supposed to convert for another person. You're supposed to convert for yourself, for Allah. That was a major issue from what I read too. It's just done all wrong. But it's so sad to see these divorces happen because the children, if they don't become a Christian, they become an atheist because they said to themselves, look what my father has done to my mother. How could Allah let this happen? They get in this state and they're blaming Allah for what has happened. And I can completely understand where they're coming from, but it's such a misunderstanding from the beginning that this is not what the religion is about. And you can't put culture and religion in the same box. Those are two different things. People do so many things that are cultural that they claim is Islam. And that's where a majority of the issue is coming from. But I know for myself that I will find a husband who is in the deen and will be good for me, who will lift me up instead of bringing me down. that he will be that way because his heart and his mind is right, that he has worked on himself. And he does not wear Islam or being a Muslim as a title, but he is really a Muslim. But I'm not going to marry a person based on a preconceived cognition. I'm going to marry them because they're right for me. And I'm not going to blame their actions, the things they do wrong, on their religion. Because even if it's the case where their upbringing is correct, I've seen people from the most suitable conditions for raising a child still turn out to be a horrible person. It's the person's personal choice to be as they are. And we should look at everyone as an individual instead of a collective. Because that within ourselves, to look at people as a collective for their behavior just goes to show you that we are discriminating against people because of one person.
So after this episode that has happened with you with the divorce, how has it made you successful now? Like what things from this have now brought good to your life and that have made it actually a good thing for you?
Well, as mentioned before, I couldn't get a good job. There's so many things. I needed a new car, couldn't get a new car, needed a new job so I can better manage my life, couldn't get that. After the divorce, I have a job that pays me 3 times the amount I was making. I have a car that is better than the car I had before. It can do what the other one did. Before I had a BMW and it was not good for the area because of winter conditions. And they do not take care of the roads here in the areas I had to go to work in. But now I have a SUV that is reliable. I can get through the snow. I don't have to worry about flooding. I can navigate through the bad roads. It's all around reliable. I'm able to better take care of myself. I have my sanity again. I'm doing more than I was doing before. I'm truly going out there and spending time with my fellow sisters. Even though in our current situation of being in a pandemic worldwide, we're still keeping our 6 feet, but we're still enjoying one another's company because it's good to see a familiar face. And we're still working. We've been working throughout the whole entire pandemic. But just to have that mental clarity is such a good feeling. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I'm glad you're feeling positive about this and looking to the future and trusting in Allah, trusting in God. So I want to ask you a question now, because our listeners out there are thinking about becoming Muslim. So if you could send a message to them, metaphorically speaking, if there was a huge, gigantic billboard that you could put anywhere on the earth, and you could put any message on it that you liked, calling them to Islam, inviting them to Islam, what message would you put on that billboard?
Most likely it would be find your peace and strength within Islam. Just because that's what I found by becoming Muslim, I found my peace and I found strength I didn't even know I had. In today's society, that's something you really need. You need to have peace to deal with the world, and you need to have strength to deal with it too. You have to be strong and you have to be kind. But in order to be kind to others, you have to be kind to yourself.
Okay, Christiana, thank you so much for sharing all of your experience with us in this episode. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the listeners as a final conclusion to this episode?
I wanted to share another book. This was a book recommended to me when I converted, and it's a very handy guide, and it just contains some of the basics. It's called Being Muslim, A Practical Guide by Asad Tarson. That's a really handy one. Because if right now, especially, or if you're not on YouTube often, is the true collective of knowledge in there for just getting you started as a Muslim. And I do hope that for those thinking about converting to Islam, that they're doing it for themselves, for the right reason, and that they don't lose hope in their journey. There's going to be people who discourage you and are threatened by you, but you have every single right in the world to be happy and to be true to yourself. And if you feel that Islam is the right religion for you, then by all means pursue it. Because I honestly thought that when my parents knew that I was converting to Islam, that they were going to kick me out. Not so much as my father, but my mother, because I knew how strongly she felt about not being a Christian. She was just so deep into it, and she still is. But I didn't want that to stop me. My plan to become a Muslim was to first leave my parents' house, then convert, because I felt that was the safest option for me. And no one should ever feel that way. Being Muslim shouldn't feel like a bad thing. It's not that you're joining a cult, you're just expressing your love for God in a way that is beneficial and suitable for you. And when you are truest to yourself, that is when you will find true happiness and true peace. When you stop caring about what society thinks about you and just start to be yourself.
Okay, Christiana, thank you so much for coming onto the show. I really appreciate it, and thank you for sharing your story. I believe that it will touch the hearts of many of the listeners out there, especially for those who are, people that need help and people that are struggling. And I think they will be inspired by the way you have a positive outlook after all of what happened to you.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me. I had a wonderful time being a guest on your show today.
Okay, yeah, you're very welcome. So may the peace and blessings of God be upon you, and also to all our listeners out there. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.